in the day you guys get to Liberia, especially at Good Shepherd Radio. Also, in this edition, of course, we continue to preach peace. We're getting closer to October 10th. So in this edition, what you guys make of violence that is erupting all over the country, especially Delegate District, where we speak of?
Well, I think the last time we were clear on that particular situation, that when it comes to, violence is something that, we should be very mindful of. We know what happened or what transpired over the past 14 years in Liberia when we opted to be violent versus, ensuring that we were doing all we could to be able to build a peaceful nation and to avoid, that armed conflict. So it is my hope that, as we go forward through these very tense election, that people can proceed with caution, that we understand that this is about the issue. It's not about, attacking, physically one another. It is about looking for the best candidate that, will be able to help us in ensuring that our people can have jobs, that, their security can be something that's prioritized, that young people coming out of colleges and university can be able to find employment in the private sector. I think those are the most critical issue, and that's what Liberians need to continue to focus on. But we condemn any acts of violence, and we look forward to an electoral process that's going to be heavy on the issues, and hopefully our people can make the right decision, especially in NIMBA County.
Okay. When we spoke last week, there were a few things. That was Tuesday, Timothy, right? Yeah. So we spoke on Tuesday. You wasn't around, right? Yeah. You wasn't around. You wasn't around on Tuesday. When we spoke on Tuesday, there were several things we tried to outline. What do we need to do as Liberians to actually do proper evaluation of who the Liberian people need to follow? That's what's giving us hard time.
Yeah. So I mean, when look, I tell one of the things that I've been talking to a lot of voters and young people in Liberia about is about looking for first and foremost, you have to determine what is it that bothers you the most when it comes to Liberia. So when you look at the election, I mean, when you look at the current conditions in the country, let's start with the top two things. So let's say, corruption is one thing that a lot of people talking about. And then in addition to corruption, let's say, jobs, especially young people are concerned about the, issues regarding pertaining to jobs in the country. So if corruption and jobs are those important things to you, then you have to look at the candidates that are part of these elections and then highlight some of the things that you see in those candidates that makes you confident enough to know that those particular candidates will be able to help you resolve those issues. And another thing is, if that particular candidate has been part of government before, you want to look at the performance, and then you have to be honest with yourself. If I'm looking at corruption and job are the two issues that I want to be able to solve in Liberia, what in that person's record that suggests that that person would be able to, bring that level of change? That's what the core critical thinking. That's exactly what we considered. When it comes to changing hearts and minds and educating our people, and I think it is one of the most important aspects of making a proper determination to elect the right leader for Liberia. So those are the pieces that we need to look at and render the kind of judgment that are needed. I'm not sure Albert's on the line, but he wants to chime in.
Yeah, let me come in.
Yeah.
Okay, Albert, if you want to come in, you can come in, Albert, then I will come in later on. This is Emirates.
Yeah, look, the way I look at it is, first of all, you got to first take a look at your life currently, right? Look at your situation currently and see if that's what you really want. I mean, are you happy? Do you want the same thing for your children or your grandchildren? Do you want the same thing for the future generation? If no, then you have to look at these candidates and look at what they have done. Look at the track record. Look at who has the ability to create jobs, like those say that the things that are important to you. Because I don't want to list things, but I want you to think about what is important to you and who has the ability to deliver those things to you. That's what you have to look at. It's not about somebody twisting your arms or trying to put a lot of words before you, but sometimes we have to sit and think for ourselves. We don't, look at these people, look at what they have done in the past. Look at them and see what they are capable of doing in the future. Because I can tell you this. If somebody hasn't done something for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, they're not going to do it in year 7 and 8. The chances are very slim. So look at all these people who's running for president, who's coming to you and telling you they want to be president. Look at them and figure out who's the best person to deliver. I know some people will ask, okay, there's a person like Cummings in the Rizzo, he hasn't been president, he hasn't been this, that, and the third, and maybe we don't know. But then look at what he has done in his life. Look at where he has been held accountable. Has he delivered? Look at what he has done in the country since he's been there, compared with the other people, and then make a choice. American, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Albert. Thank you, Duke. You guys made a lot of salient points. Liberia, we have to first of all identify what we lack. We have to know those things before you can even think about a leader. Are you all employed? Do you have jobs that you are able to take care of yourselves and your family and live a good life? Those are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. So if you look at Liberia, based on our history, and I would say most of the young people, when I talk about Liberia, I talk about 1980 coming forward. Liberia long existed before 1980. But most of all remember the 1980 when President Tobo was killed up to this time. If you look at Liberia, we have not had a competent and visionary leader. What do I mean? Somebody who was able to create economic growth. Economic growth, we talk about activities where we have investors, investment in the country. We talk about job creation. We talk about entrepreneurship where you can become business owners. We talk about infrastructure development. Those 4 areas are areas that we need to think hard to know who we elect, because those are the main issues, the main pillars of our way of moving forward in the right direction. If we don't find a competent leader is somebody who has exemplified that he can do a job, that's been consistent for a very long time, and has the education, the experience to be able to implement and be productive. A visionary leader is to see Liberia now and see how you can have policies, to implement policies, to prioritize those policies that are going to move Liberia forward in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years. When you build a country, it's not built on now. It's built on generations to come. You want a leader who has the smart, the ingenuity to put policies together that will live forever. So this election is very, very important because some of you want to get into investment. It can be low-skill investment. Not all investments will have to be foreign direct. Not all investments will have to come from abroad.
So if you're following on radio in NIMBA County on our weekly show on the radio station, we have Emmerich, Albert, and myself here. This radio station extend across the entire county, and we get on here just to educate the people. So follow us and share the link.
Because that's how you move your goods. When you're a farmer, you move your goods from NIMBA to the market area in Ganta, Morovia, and other places, move freely around. Those things are not happening. So who do you want? Do you want a leader who understands how to do those things for you to be able to develop and thrive in any society? Or do you want somebody you think you can just be clapping because you have heard their name before, but they have never ever in their lifetime exemplified anything. So that's the question to all of you that are listening. Do you want a leader that will change things around, that you will not become beggars? Do you want a leader who will be able to set policies in place that will impact your life once you put in the hard work? Our people have been working hard for years, for decades. They don't go anywhere. It's because we don't have the leadership that has the vision, the competence to move the country forward. So then let's move on.
Yeah, Albert.
Now, Emery, you are bringing a complete. You're doing a complete retrospection of what happens on Tuesday. This is it. You just spoke of 4 decades ago, from 1980 up to today, and the question keeps ringing in our ears, in our hearts. When and who? Because you see, the people will come and they will tell you, when I get there tomorrow, I'm going to bring heaven down to you, heaven. And then people will be moved. And within the twinkle of an eye, everything will change, and then there will be disappointment. And from the beginning of Liberia, from the time Liberia started having our first president up to today, that's the way it has been. Some will do some 40-45%, and then that will be it. And now we're getting so bored and tired of this situation. And we need somebody who could lead us into a happier day. And now our question is, how do we get this person? There's no research center here. What we'll do, fact checking on who should be the best person. There's no way we could check on who is better to know the candidates are in the race, who's going to be the best person. Because all of them get their own platform. Opposition too will come and tell us something different about this candidate. Whether it is true or not, we don't know. You guys need to come back to Liberia and help us find and bring a system where we'll be doing fact checking on who should be the best person to lead Liberia. That's where we are.
So that's a very, very brilliant point you just brought up. The question there, since we voted the CDC-led government in 2017, right? Let us retrospect. Let us all think back and see who is the only politician that been consistent in delivery, in saying he will do this and did it. Who's been making promises? If we look at, and I will be clear, when we had the Ebola crisis, only one person I know, the President George Weah, left the country, and he during the Ebola crisis, he was in the Senate, and the record is there, right? He left the country. When he was leaving the country, we did not hear the name of any other politician that was able to come. At that time, Mr. Cummings wasn't a politician, but he flew in, and you can check the records. The records are there. I can provide you with the record, right? He flew in with more than $1 million worth of goods, medication to help with Ebola, while people were running away. But in Liberia, one thing I noticed, and I'll be truthful, we are all part of it. We become fanatics of people that we think, we hear their name every day, but they have not done anything. We all become fanatics of those things. And then another thing, if you look at the COVID, when COVID hit Liberia, right? The record is there. I can provide you with the record. The only person who was able to come and design strategy, policy, and be able to provide hospitals to augment the effort of hospitals was Mr. Cummings. And let's go back to Kuran Hospital in Zozo. When the hospital was about to close, that's the only referral hospital in Zozo or in Lofa County. Mr. Cummings was the only one who stood tall. He's not from Lofa, but he does not look at people from a tribalistic standpoint. When you look at what he's done in NIMBA County in Ganta, or in our community college where he created a science college, Mr. Cummings was able to put money into the science college to have a science college for Nimbarians. The same Prince Johnson that we praise, people today accusing Mr. Cummings of siding with. No, but Mr. Cummings looked at the bigger picture to say this is about the children of NIMBA. It's not about Prince Johnson. I will support Today, Mr. Cummings is being accused of supporting. They say, "Oh, Prince Johnson is rebel, right?" He gave $50,000 to his university. Mr. Cummings was looking at the bigger picture that this is about NIMBA County. It's about building capacity. It's about educating the people, the minds. So I will put money into it because it's a worthy cause. He did that. So if we can start counting, be there we are when there was no electricity. No electricity. Mr. Cummings provided 350 kVA generator to provide electricity that people could go to school. I keep saying the list will not end when I keep talking. You know what people say? When they know he's done all of those things after researching, they come by and say, "Well, he wanted to become a politician, so that's why he was doing it." No. Mr. Cummings started all of those things. Even during the Ebola crisis, he had not made up his mind in life, okay, to become president of the country. He did those things. So it's clear. It's very, very clear that he's a person of heart.
Yeah. During the Ebola crisis, he has not made up his mind. He has not dreamed about becoming a politician. What brought the dream?
I think this is it. People get petitioned, and I will be clear. People saw his goodwill. People saw his integrity. People saw his leadership that he had excelled at Coca-Cola at an executive level in America, and they felt that our country lacked the right leadership at the time. A group of Liberians went to Mr. Cummings to ask him to please help the country because leadership was a problem in Liberia. Mr. Cummings did not just jump on and do it, though. He had to consult with his wife, his children, his family, and to have the conviction that it's the right thing to do to help Liberia. So Mr. Cummings didn't just jump on and say, "I want to become president of the country." Mr. Cummings felt that with his skills, his expertise, his education, his experience, that he can help Liberia based on Liberians asking him to please help our country with that void of good leadership. And that's how he was able to agree and say, "You know what, if my country needs me, I will answer to that call." So I will allow Duke and Albert to chime in. Maybe they got something to say over there.
Yeah. Albert, you there? I think he's driving it, but let me go in. No, great response by Emric as well. Dan, great questions, and this is why we keep appearing and speaking so that our people can get an understanding. There is this frequent thought in Liberia that when somebody do good, I mean they have intentions to run. That was not the case with Mr. Comics. Like Emric, rightfully stated, how we came up to this. But then I think the most important conversation that we should be having is when it comes to all of the people in this election, who is the most qualified, who is the most competent candidate that's actually seeking or vying for the office. And the way in which we do that is that we look out at the current state of affairs in Liberia. And we say that we have been complaining about leadership for a long time. And we have been upset about corruption across the country for a long time. We have been saying there's been a non-existent private sector in Liberia, meaning there are no jobs outside of government for a long time. So if those are essential issues, meaning if those issues touch your heart, they're important, then the conversation should not be about, what was this person's intention when they gave us certain things. It should be about, is this person competent or qualified enough to be able to help us to address this issue? And this is what my argument or my conversation stands on. I believe that in this election, there is no candidate in this race, with the exception of Mr. Cummings, that are more qualified. He comes with all of the expertise needed to be able to build a strong economy. He comes with all of the record needed to show that he's a man that comes with a good character. This is something we have not seen from people who are vying for public service in Liberia for the longest. And you know, when I talk about building a private sector or functioning private sector, I'm not saying that because I just want to use words to convince people. I've worked in the private sector in the United States. I've worked in corporate America for more than 16, 17 years, and I've been able to build a career for myself. And in developed countries, the reason why those economies are strong is because majority of the jobs, over 90% plus of the jobs in developed nations, they're created in the private sector. You go to other countries, it's rare for you to find people who will tell you, say, majority of the people here in the country they employ in government, because those societies understand that government is not the outlet to be able to create the type of economic success that you want to see in the country. So Mr. Cummings brings those things, and this is why I believe that under him, Liberia will see economic growth because his policies will be focused on building a vibrant private sector that can put our old people to work. The other day I talk about farms. A lot of our people who are listening today, they come in the evening to the homes from the farms, right? You want to sell your cassava, you're talking about private sector. You want to sell your crops, you're talking about private sector. Your children going to school, you pay that school fee, they graduate from university, they're looking for a job. We're talking about private sector. If the private sector was functioning, NIMBA County would be one of the most forceful counties in the country because we know how the people in NIMBA are very educated. And I'm telling you, outside of formal education, when it comes to just the regular way, trades, even farming, if we had the kind of private sector that was actually giving our people the chance to thrive, then we'll have we wouldn't be faced with some of the issues we're faced here with today. So those are the, things that we like to discuss and just educate people when it comes to voting and the essence of actually supporting Mr. Cummings.
Okay. Great. A beautiful explanation. Duke. There's a certain Liberia. In fact, not Liberia. There's a parable, and the parable of Liberians are dwelling on is good to dance with the old devil than the new angel. Gentlemen, this is because very good. We know Cummings has been doing a lot of things according to you guys, but the people would rather decide going with the old devil, than a new angel who will also come with the fear that it might be more than what people allege is happening right now. And what we're trying to tell you is, for technical example, what we're trying to tell you is, it is only you guys in the state that are actually making the people of NIMBA, especially better get statutory district, because statutory district comprising of two major districts in NIMBA, to know that there's a man called Cummings who's great. And you can see people from apart things on cover, and people are not really informed.
Yeah.
And now it makes it a very difficult decision for the people to take.
Well, then let me come in. I love that question. And these are the kind of questions that I believe it gives me a quick, an opportunity to educate the people. And then Emric will join when I get this point. First and foremost, it is never too late to be able to get the information you need to make the right decision. As long as we still have time until you go into the voting booth to elect somebody to lead the country, you can use every information to make an informed decision. You see, then this thing here about it's better to be with the devil, than the angel. This is why we're in the position we are in Liberia. My question would be to those people, let's look at Liberia right now and be honest with yourself. Are you really satisfied with that country? Are you satisfied with Liberia as it is? By affiliating with the devil that can you say that your decision to affiliate with the devil have been able to create jobs for your children? No. We're still fighting for good leaders today. Yeah. We're still fighting for change today. Our parents are still struggling. Yeah, our money go on the farm today as old as they are right now when they should be looking at retirement. They're still working to support the children because the children even got school fees. They can't even take care of themselves. So the devil that we've known have not really given us the result. And this thing here is, look, what more do we have to lose? You've been already at the bottom. You've actually struggled because of the decision of voting For people who believe that you're supposed to support because you're a tribal man or that the devil will know, it has not changed your life. So how difficult it is for you to make a decision to do something different to actually impact your life. So we are saying here, man, look, we have the most refined candidate, and I say the best candidate that we've ever seen in an election in Liberia. And his record speaks for it. And I know that Mr. Cummings can bring the level of change that we want to see in that country. And that's why we're appealing to the people. We're not coming arrogant. We're not imposing on you. We're saying, my people, listen, you not made the decision over and over. For a long time, you have made the same decision. Just think something different and see where this path will take you. But I'll get Emmerich the chance to come and chime in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on now, so I can chime in anytime you guys want me to.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I will go in there. I can come on. Since you're on now, since you're available.
Yeah, so, that statement, it's better to stay with the devil than you know. But there's a flip side to it, right? So if you choose to stay with the devil that you know, you better be prepared to dish out, to receive what that devil dish out to you, right? So if the devil dish, if the devil dish out corruption, you better be ready to receive that corruption and not complain. So you have to be ready to take what that devil gives you if you choose to dance with that devil. But let me go outside a little bit. You see, in the West, in the West, one thing I observed over the years being in this country, working in this country, is that whenever an institution decides to hire a CEO or maybe some executive or manager, do you know what they do?
No.
9 times out of 10, they don't do it from within. They go outside. Do you know why?
No.
They go outside instead of going from within, because if you choose somebody from within, that person has been with the company for a long time. They're not going to bring no new ideas to the table. The reason why you change your CEO or you change your manager or director is because you want fresh ideas to grow the company. So that's why in the West, people normally go outside. They're going outside because they want new ideas. They want somebody that will change things. They want somebody that will revamp the company, return the company back to profitability. So the question is, if you chose that devil that you know, guess what? That devil is not bringing anything new to the table. That devil is not going to change anything. They're going to go by the status quo. They're going to go by what they've been doing. And because it's from that same pool. But if you want change, you want different perspective, something new, you have to go outside and get something new, somebody that has the idea that's going to change the nation, that's going to change our destiny with the help of God. We put God first, right? But we have to go outside and find something new. We have put that time and time again for people who come from within the system. And all those people you have been voting for from within the system, from the two-way party also the Joe party for the National Democratic Party of Liberia, right? And then also the Taylor government, also the Ellen government, every single one of them have been in the system from first to 12th time. And you know what? They have been ruling you guys. They have been ruling all of us, matter of fact, because I grew up in my brothers on the wall. So they have been ruling all of us with the same mentality from Rock of Ages left for me. All those big block boys, you see, they took it from way back. Because that order so grown. That order, when people say, I'm disappointed in Darius Dillon and this and that, you know what? Because Darius Dillon came from the same school of the whole politician. Who breeded Darius Dillon? It was the same old politician that breeded Darius Dillon. That's why he is who he is. That's why he couldn't bring the change that he cannot and will not bring the change that the people of Maserati want. So if the people of Liberia want change, they have to go for something new, something different. They have to step outside the box. They have to have faith. We call ourselves a Christian nation, so we have to have faith, step outside the box, and find somebody with new ideas, with new input. And Mr. Cummings has exhibited that already many times. He has done that in Liberia. When he headed the CPP, his range on the CPP was magnificent. The CPP was at its peak. When he left, guess what happened? It tanked. Because you know what? The people who came after him, they're from the same most recycled school of thought. They don't have no different way of doing things. So they kind of just, with that momentum that he built, they destroy it. That should show, that's a sign to the Liberian people. If you want to choose a leader, that's a sign to the Liberian people. God is speaking to you every day in everything that's been happening. So we have to pay attention. The people have to pay attention to all of these other things. You understand? Cummings took a refused it, what did Cummings do? He didn't follow the trend of having this rally and mother rally campaign of marching campaign. You know, he lived true to his words. And that's one thing I love about him. He lived according to his words. When he said, I'm going to do something, he does it. He keeps telling you, Monrovia is not like bro. Monrovia is not like bro. What did he do? He took his captain lunch outside of Monrovia and went to Magidi. People, they talk about, but you look, you see, you're going back to the people mentality of Praga, but Cummings is trying to move the country forward to a new age, a new way of thinking. Why are you looking at Praga? He's looking at moving the country forward away from Praga productivity. He wants the country to be more productive. That's why he's saying, what? I'm not going to have another region for and all that. I'm going to be working for day one. Cummings has started working already to get his administration ready just in case if you guys get the opportunity. And that's why we are here to actually get to that opportunity. Because he's ready to work. He's ready to make like bro a productive nation. And if we want to catch up with the guy and everybody keep rushing to for medical treatment and whatnot, we have to be more productive than them. And the only person on the ballot that's going to make this nation a productive nation, that's going to put our people to work, our brothers and our sisters, our mothers and our fathers to work, is Mr. Alexander Cummings. So that's why we are here today.
So let me come in.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Let's not get us off track. We are listening to you, and we want to make some comments or ask some questions before we get to the next speaker. Cummings has not been able to adequately bring together the collaborating political parties. There's always ups and downs, and a lot of dissatisfaction has been expressed every time you go to Front Page Africa, New Door, and this and that, and this and that. And they are not really holding when people expect him to bring them together and hold on together. What's happening?
Yeah, let me be realistic. Let us look at the collaborating political party. Let us be truthful about this whole collaborating political parties. Let us be truthful.
Right.
When did the collaborating political parties, when did they have success? Under whose watch did they have success? You remember doing the by-elections, right? The time, the law, the time, all of those are board charts from River G, and everybody, when the collaborating political parties won CDC overwhelmingly. Whose reign was it? Whose tenure was it? It was Cummings' tenure. We have to be very truthful. We have to look at history. History not far. What we just experienced in the success of the collaborating political party was when Cummings was faced with a lot of issues for Better Nigeria, and you all know for ALP, from UP, for everybody, Liberty Party. But Cummings was steadfast. Cummings was not deterred. Cummings wanted the success of the collaborating political parties, the CPP then. Under Cummings' watch, and we are all truthful, we succeeded in defeating CDC. And nobody can say that's not true. Nobody listening right now can say that's not true. So for people to even, you should be witness of Cummings' leadership. Everyone should be witness, because when we all were happy together, even though we had our own differences, Cummings was successful because Cummings is not a vindictive person. Cummings believes in teamwork. But how did the collaborating political parties, how did it implode? How did it go apart? It's because one person did not want to go to the primary and had a whole propaganda team to say fingering document. When you went to the court, there was no evidence, nothing to look at. We have to be truthful. And later on, after that whole thing, when Cummings got vindicated, he got free of that case. There's a confession all over the place. And we know how it went. We all know it. Let us not be in denial. Cummings is a team player. Cummings is the only person in the collaborating political parties. Cummings had a concession that if he did not win the primary, he's on record for that. He will support whoever going to win. Cummings said it. But the question we are asking, did Joseph Juma Bwaka ever in your lifetime, ever all thought that if Cummings won the primary, you were going to support. Look, Liberians will have to be truthful, whether we elect somebody or not. And that's the problem with us. If you look at, Dan, if you say we're going to go into a little bit of the PL 480, I will just not go into it in details, but when funds were given to Liberia in 1980 by the American government, $483 million around 1980 to 85, 86, when they had that audit. And when you're talking about that amount of money, you're talking about almost $2 billion today. That alone can develop Liberia. $400 or more million. You're talking about today. 1980 was given to Liberia. Today, it's almost $2 billion. That's too much money. But we did not have accountability. That money was squandered. Because from 1980 to 1985, 86, $80 million of that money was given to the agricultural program. And $80 million is like $328 million by now. That's too much money to just make Liberia self-sufficient in agriculture. It did not happen. But then we don't hold people accountable in our country. And that's one of the reasons why Liberia suffers. We don't hold people accountable. We make excuses for them. If I am a leader in America, in an organization, and then I cannot measure what 85 million.
If you just follow, we're on radio station live, NIMBA County, Blue Shepherd Radio, and it's part of our weekly show. And so you hear Emmerich on the line, Albert and myself, and we're with Dan in the studio. And the people at NIMBA County are listening to this live podcast. So continue to follow and share the link.
You receive punishment for it, and your life is done. When you are a nurse, they see malpractice by you. If the code of conduct, you don't do the right thing, somebody die under your care because of your carelessness, you will never ever work in that field. It does not happen in Liberia. That's the reason why we struggle. We have to be truthful.
Thank you very much, this is Timothy Mungu. I listen and I listen very well. I really, really admire it. I'm happy to be a panel. So my question now has to do with, you said a lot about Mr. Cummings. He's doing a lot and everyone knows that. At times in Liberia, we say politicians do that to get to power. And when they get to power, everything disappears and something is seen in practice. So tell us, now that Mr. Cummings has not gotten to the power, he's doing all the good things. What assurance do we Liberians have that when he is elected, all of these good things will continue?
Yeah. So
Dan, let me throw a little light because we're almost leading to what I was discussing before you came in with your question. If you have had people that have not lived by example, anybody, it can be, take politics for that. If your personal life, you have never lived by example, right? When you say, I will do this, and you come back and don't do it, those are the things that will start to put to perspective. Even if you look at the CDC-led government, all of the things they promise the people, right? We see up to today now, they don't like band-aid, they do the kind of temporary dressing to make it look like they won their vote. Because if somebody said 6 years ago they were going to do those things, you give them the opportunity to do those things, right? They can do it. The 12 years too, that's supposed to take our people before CDC came in, supposed to take our people from poverty, right? Those things were not done, but individuals got rich from the 12 years that Burka were a part of. Then where do we go? Do we still, they say, oh, the devil, the devil, the devil. I would rather be with the devil. But the question that you have been with the devil since 1980, your life hasn't changed. So if I've been with the devil for so long, conventional wisdom will tell me that I've been with the devil forever, my life not changing. If I take risks with the other person, what is it going to do for me? What is it going to do? Is it going to harm me? Because I'm already down. I'm already down. If I take risks with somebody else, okay? who has shown, who has exemplified those things in leadership, but because I say the person is the angel I don't know, I want to be with the devil. So the question there, do we keep being with the devil all day that even our children will come and be with the devil too? Our grandchildren will come and be with the devil forever, or perpetual system of being with the devil that will not develop our country? Or do I try somebody else who I haven't tried before, who I don't know, but has an impeccable record? So you see the whole thing with Mr. Cummings, then. People always make the excuse, but Mr. Cummings has not been around just recently, though. We have to be truthful. Mr. Cummings came, he did well. Even the people at NIMBA County voted for Mr. Cummings overwhelmingly. And I say, you know what? I was happy to see NIMBA show up for Mr. Cummings. His first time into politics in Liberia. So it simply means that our people in NIMBA are not stupid. They're not stupid. Most of them voted for Cummings when Cummings just came into politics. But you know what? We can make it better this time around. Because when I saw the numbers that came up for Mr. Cummings in NIMBA County, I was happy that we have very smart people in NIMBA. We don't have stupid people. Our people are brilliant. I trust their judgment. So do come in.
Yeah. Yes. So then another brilliant question. You know, I understand that Liberians have their own experiences when it comes to people who have actually reached out politicians. And it is okay to feel a little anxious, about politicians and the people who've come in the past. But what I like to always ask people is, when you voted for the people before, what did you consider before voting for that individual? That's what it always comes down to. What kind of decisions did we factor? What kind of things did we factor in before voting for somebody? Did we vote for the person because of popularity? Did we vote for the man because our tribal man tied to that person because of government job? For here, a few people we say we'll try our votes. Or were we electing persons or voting for individuals because of what they bring in terms of the issue? The difference when it comes to Mr. Cummings is that when we say that we're voting this time around because of the issues, because of who is more qualified and more competent, then we will be moving on a path that's completely different than what we've done before. Because if this election is about solving the issues that some of you are concerned about, then Mr. Cummings is the most qualified and the most competent person who I do believe is going to execute on all of the mandate that he has put forth. You know why? Because this is his track record. If you want to know that somebody will be good at the things that they said they're going to be good at, look at the present history and see for yourself. Now, I know somebody in the audience say, oh, but the president having had experience with government jobs. Look, we need to put aside this whole government experience away. Because the current experience that we're seeking from people who have been part of the existing issue in that country, those experiences have not put food on your table. They have not been able to create the market for our parents' crops, pepper and the cassava to be sold, even the cocoa. It has not put our young people back to work in the private sector. So those government experiences are not experiences that we try to take into consideration. But Mr. Cummings brings a different style of leadership. And that style of leadership, I want to let to use practicality. That means improving. And if you check his record, some of the biggest institutions that he has worked for that got even longer, bigger budget than Liberia, the entire country, that man's been able to manage it without any accusation of corruption and with a level of success that's benefited not only the people who work for his company, but some of those countries. And some of the countries that he has worked in, they have similar economies, compared to Liberia, poor economy. Places like Nigeria, those other African countries. He has been able to be a successful leader in those tough, traditional, complex African markets. And at the helm of his career, at the peak of his career, and even at the beginning point of his career, he has been able to make the level of impact that people from outside our country respect this man today. You know, they say there's a saying that say, then, Jesus and I respect in your own home, right? If the people understand or even know the kind of man that Alice Cummings is, we'll even be having this conversation today. But to answer the question, he brings the level of expertise, he brings the level of credible and competence that the Liberian people need. And I can assure you, outside of what we've experienced with politicians, the good thing about Mr. Cummings, he does not bring those characteristics that we've seen failed politicians over time, bring to the table. His experience is different. His style of leadership is different, and he comes to everything that I believe Liberia needs, especially in the private sector. And that alone gives me hope that if we submit, or when we submit, or go to the ballot box and actually check Mr. Cummings and Charlene Bronsky, number 4 on the ballot, by the way, as president and vice president, Liberia will begin to see the immediate change due to his impactful leadership style.
Why you guys thank you ever so much? What can you guys tell us is responsible for Mr. Kumi? Mr. Kumi ran 2017, it was not successful, and he's still in the race. What do you think is becoming his challenge that he did not win 2017, and he might also find it difficult 2023? What do you think is responsible? What's going on?
Let me come in. I think to a point too, I keep saying, we were talking about education. Once our society is caught up with education, right? When we can eliminate the illiteracy rate in our country, where people can think and do research, and so from their home and have objectivity, be very objective, and depoliticize some of the issues, and at the same time detribalize some of the issues, yes, we'll not struggle with having a good leader. That's what's happening in a lot of great countries. We're not saying there's not racism in some places. We're not saying there's not tribalism. But it's at a minimum where is that impacting the election, okay? Because people vote based on issues. And that's the reason why some of those countries, they are having successes. Once they see that our leadership cannot produce, they go by, the issue and they vote you out. We're not seeing that happening in our country because our election is greatly influenced and impacted by tribalism, by I would say nepotism, by we call that there's a theory, proximity theory. Proximity is how close you are to me. Okay, those things are not happening in countries that are developing. Countries that are developed, because the people look at issue, they don't have to know you, they don't care to know you, they don't care. The interest of the country is nationalistic. Somebody who will bring job to me. I don't care to know you. Once I can get what to do, I will vote you. And that's any foundation or any progress or any a path of growth in any country to see somebody who can be able to lead and be able to bring policies that will create jobs, somebody who will be able to invest, or bring foreign direct investment. Those are the things that can make our country now, because somebody, my brother or my sister, let me just vote for you because you're my brother and sister. But how does it impact people nationalistically? How will you know? It would not happen. It would never work. And that's the reason why, you see, a lot of countries in our area, our neighbors, and so they are moving forward. They are progressing because they have moved from that way of thinking, that thought process of thinking that, you be nepotistic, or my brother, my friend will give me a job, so let me vote for that person. They have moved, they have passed that stage. They're moving forward to make sure that we have a leader who has competence, who is a visionary, who can work on policies that will bring jobs, who can work on policies that will bring economic growth. Those things are things that can move our country forward. Until we start thinking that way, we're going nowhere. Until we start thinking that way, nowhere like we're going to go.
So how many of us are thinking that way right now? How many of you are thinking that way right now?
Yeah, but you see, this is a good question, right? If I wasn't thinking that way, I would say because my mom from Compton, my mom from NIMBA, I would just ride on the bandwagon and support Joseph Boyka because Jeremiah Koo is with Joseph Boyka. But I don't think that way. I would say, Tiawan Gongwe is there because my mom from NIMBA County. I would just vote Tiawan Gongwe. But you have to get deeper than that. I'm looking at the trend. I'm looking at where Liberia remains stagnated is like no movement, progress, nothing, no way forward. And I say, the person I think that has the experience, that has the capabilities, that has the abilities, that has the education, because he's done it before in his lifetime. Mr. Cummings, don't forget, not only in the private sector, he was responsible for corporate social development, of responsibility of Coca-Cola in East Africa and other places in Nigeria. So those things you have to understand government's policy. You have to know government's policy. And I say, I'm not just going to pick a person because I think you have the background that I have. And we from the same place, so let me pick you because I think it will benefit me. I have passed that stage of it benefiting just me and benefiting the overall good of the country. Once the overall good of the country is met, there's a relief. Your mind and power will not be burdened because you know that children that are adults, the adult children. Today we see adult children, they have to come and eat still from their mind and power because they cannot afford, they don't have a job. They have to come and hustle, go to their mind and power, who cooking at home. When they're supposed to be having jobs to feed their parents and do those things for their parents, some of them still come home. Not everybody. So we see a problem in the society and we are still in denial and we're still looking for the devil that never served us right.
Yeah, the last time we were speaking on similar thing like that. But we also try to do some evaluation. We also try to look at the issue of Nigeria. This is a country that is one of the oldest country in Africa. And ever since we came into existence, there have actually not been any improvement. And we wouldn't want to shift the blame on a particular leader, because what about those who were even there before the 20th century? The Nigeria was faced with a similar problem that is extending up to today as we speak, maybe. And so, is there a root cause? Is there a root cause that we'll forget about looking for the cause on the surface and go to the root cause and see what it is? And you guys are in the States, you guys are quite comfortable, whatever. You guys feel that you might be directing Nigerian people to take a direction that you consider the better direction. Well, of course, the Nigerian people are not in the same boat with you, in the thinking boat with you. And so, what you think, because I look at you talk about education. As you talk about education, even as we speak, Mr. Kumi is in the country, he knows he's in the country, and its impact when it comes to education, to educate people of what he's talking about. When we say education, a lot of things is bulky. And so we've got to break it down to know the type of education you're talking about that will open the eyes and the minds of the Nigerian people to know who stands the better chance to lead them.
Well, I mean, Dan, and I will pass it on to Albert when I'm done here. You see, I don't agree with the fact that the Liberian people, do not understand. That's because I think our people are knowledgeable about, the situations that they're faced with. Somebody doesn't need to go to school to understand what they're going through. The everyday economy in our country, they're faced with it. For instance, even our ma and pa wouldn't get no formal education. They know the challenges that it takes them to be able to go to the farms and walk sometimes the long distances back home. They know how hard it is to work under the sun to be able to find low 1 cent and 2 cents for them to be able to take care of their families. Our parents who don't have formal education send their children to high schools and they graduate. Some of them have to drive off to Monrovia to attend some of the colleges and the university. So they have to send support for those children, right? That's a form of education. That's a form of understanding the challenges and all of the situations they're being faced with. What I would say, though, is that if we simplify it to that level, if we bring it down to the lowest and say that, look at your current condition and look at the current conditions of your children. Look at the current condition of NIMBA County. Is NIMBA County the kind of county that you want it to be today? Are your children in the better position? You as a parent, you've been working for maybe 10, 15 years on the same farm doing the same thing. When you sit down, is that the kind of life that you envision? Absolutely not, right? Those are the things that we're speaking to. We want Liberians to think about their everyday struggle. The Yana boy and the people that who's the ordinary gas seller. All of these people, think about the daily challenges you face in our country and ask yourself, why we keep facing these same issues? Why is it we continue to have these problems? Why is it our people continue to struggle? Why is it that all of us sit here and we see that we can't even survive in our country? The resources that was meant for our country is not even impacting us. Why do we continue to go through this? So if you're tired with everything that's been going on and you see that nothing's working in the country, then you have to be truthful to yourself and say, you know what? In the end, maybe it's the way that we've been voting in this country and we need to think different. And I think this is the kind of education that we speak of, enlightening the minds of the people and what have you. And look, again, believe it or not, the Liberian people understand who Mr. Cummings is. Because if they did not understand the kind of leadership that Mr. Cummings brings to the table, they would not have supported his leadership when he led the collaborating political parties that have one of the most impactful wins when it comes to any political merger in that country. They knew that Alexander Cummings was at the helm.
They were not able to hold together.
Look,
They were not able to hold together.
great question. But let me say this. Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, so let me say this to you real quick. Let me say this real quick. Just 1 second, Amri. Dan, let's be honest here. Alexander Cummings held the CPP together under his tenure. The collaborating political party was successful under Alexander Cummings' tenure. We all agree that the leadership structure of the collaborating political party was a rotational leadership. It was not under the leadership of Cummings that the collaborating political party collapsed. It was under the leadership of certain individuals who went and took him to court on a bogus charge. And guess what happened? It was dismissed. Nothing was found against that man. Those who do not want to see the Liberian people prosper orchestrated the collapse of the collaborating political party. And today, Alex Cummings fought to keep the CPP. The CPP would be on the ballot because of Alexander Cummings. So it didn't fail. There were people who were actually part of a plan to rip from the hearts of the Liberian people something that worked for them. So today, the Liberian people have an option to go into election October 10 and cast the ballots on behalf of the CPP because Alexander Cummings maintained the collaborating political parties. And I think that alone shows leadership, and it shows that he's a man who believes that once he puts his heart and mind to something, it will work.
So then, this is the question I'm going to ask everyone. If my father sent me to school, and then I feel that I can study hard and take first place in a class and be the dukes for the class, what's wrong with it? Is it a crime?
Of course, it's not a crime.
Okay, but then what's wrong with it? I think to me, I'm raising a bar in the class, right? To make everybody to study hard. Because if I come in a class and say, I think I'm supposed to be the dukes in the class, and I'm studying hard, I'm being honest, I don't see it as a crime. So if you come and say you know your worth, and that's the reason why I'm speaking now, because I want all of the children in Compton, all of the young people in Compton to know their worth, that they will not be abused. And say, I'm too better for somebody to give me one bag of rice to just give my vote to them because my vote is important. This is where I am. This is Emmerich talking. Emmerich is talking now. Emmerich knew his worth, that he would not just follow politicians. He would not just follow Cummings because Cummings is supposed to give him one bag of rice or give him $100. Because you know what? I know my worth. I was once upon a time in that same situation where I know my worth. So it's not a bad thing when we find our children now saying they have they can make selections. They can make selections based on opportunities thrown at them to say, I know my worth. I'm not just going to support a candidate because he gave me $50 or he gave me $20 or he gave me T-shirt or he's cooking food. This is the reason why we're having this conversation. So I want our children in NIMBA to know their worth, that do not follow politicians because you see the whole crowd going there. But if I come to a classroom and say, you know what, I will study hard, I want to be number one in this class, that's a good thing. It will elevate everybody to study hard because they say, Emmerich already said he will take first place in the class, he's studying hard. It will make everybody to study hard. Then you know what? The whole class will become good. That's why I see incomings. Nothing wrong with that. So the question you asked about Cummings in the CPP will all have to be truthful because the record is there. When Cummings was the head of the CPP had good results. When Cummings wasn't there, the CPP fell flat because other people felt that, oh, Mr. Cummings, they had a justification. False justification. He bribing people. He doing this, he doing that. And we want to take him down. That's the reason why the CPP, today we will not have CDC talking about being in this politics if the CPP are held together. Cummings made a concession. He said if the CPP, no matter who's going to win, Joseph Boga going to win, I will support him. But then play me one take. You are a journalist. What Joseph Boga ever said, if Cummings going to win the CPP primary, I will support Cummings. Play that tape, let you hear it.
Now, that's where my argument comes. Me, I've said it, he showed clear heart to them that if Joseph Boga wins, I'm going to support him. If Joseph Boga have not been able to say when Cummings wins, I'm going to support him. So where do we stand? And what is responsible for that?
Dan,
but you're a journalist. You're a journalist. You should be objective at this time.
Right.
We are doing it.
Dan,
We are doing it.
Dan.
Okay, now.
Mhm.
Now, the point of argument, Emmerich, the point of argument is this. Are we blaming a particular leader for failing to deliver the people of Liberia, or blame Liberians for not taking the right choice?
No, but you see, this is it. We have to hold people accountable. We have to make people to be responsible for certain actions. Today, we even have CDC, talking about CDC, because we're not holding people accountable. If we say we all wanted the CPP, if Mr. Cummings coming and say, I will be the dues for the class because I will study hard, I will negotiate, I will talk to everybody for them to know that I'm the leader. And then another person saying, no, I've been around for 40, 50 years, but you can't show what you have done in the 40, 50 years. Even though the American government supported your program more than $500 million into your program, you can't show what you did to take the farmers in Lofa and other places, because Lofa at that time, NIMBA, Lofa, bread basket of the country if you did not move them forward. But you're not talking about that. But you say because you have been into politics for 50 years, because you failed in 5th grade for 2, 3, 4 years. I just got promoted to 5th grade. So that gives you the right, because you're in 5th grade, so that gives you the right over me who's going to be studying hard to bring something new and study hard and be the dudes. Let us be realistic. So does that give you the right to say because you're in 5th grade for 2, 3, 4 years? So somebody who came from a different school, from Central High, and come to St. Mary's in 10th grade and say, I came from Central High to St. Mary's, but I will study and be the dudes in the class here in St. Mary's. But because you're in St. Mary's in 10th grade for 2, 3 years, so that gives you the right or the person who will go study hard?
Yeah.
That's the truth now.
Yeah, Dan.
If you say we are journalists, we should ask the question. That's what the problem is. You can have Cummings supporting, giving his support, and then White House failing to give his support, and then you want me to ask the both of them why.
So Dan,
But, I'm not part of them. I don't know for what them is speaking.
Dan.
It's clear.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and chime in.
No, you're
Go ahead.
This is the point. It's very clear. Nobody's saying take sides. I'm not telling you to take sides. But what they call evidence, living evidence. Yeah, all right? Yeah. You are a journalist, you can deduce. Okay, how did the CPP, the evidence is there, it's clear. How did the CPP fall apart? You can look at it from a journalistic standpoint, be neutral. I'm not saying support anybody, but look at the evidence. Because when you have the evidence, you can make informed decision and
and so, but you guys know that in Nigeria, politicians are not willing to give us to give us results that we want from them. They are not in a position to ask us questions that will exhibit our freedom of speech, our right to information. You know
that does not take away from the facts. That does not take away from the facts that you're going to show out there based on the information you have, because they're not going to withhold the information that's open to critical analysis, and so the information is they had a CVV went apart. The CVV went apart because simple. It was very simple. It was clear that one group felt that Mr. Cummings did lie. It was frivolous that Mr. Cummings fingered document. They want to quote, even though the court cancel it, because if you say you want to be a leader in the country and you supposedly quote and become a witness for the government, right? Even though you're a witness for the government, you're part of the CPP, but the government did not even win the case. So it tells you that it wasn't good on your part. It did not look good that you became the government's witness. You serve as a witness for the government, even though you with your friend, with your own brother in the house, with your mom and pa. But when you went to court to serve as the other person's witness, you did not succeed. So what do we need to show that that whole proceeding there was frivolous, it was false, it was malicious, it was a lie? And I keep saying a lot got to play with the nepotistic aspect, the tribalistic aspect, all of those things. Not everybody in NIMBA going to stand for it. Some people stood with Cummings. We are grateful for those that stood with Cummings because they wanted the truth. But we all have to look at it as from a journalistic standpoint to be very objective. When you're a journalist, you have to have the information and be objective, that tomorrow when something comes to you, you will say, based on the information I got, I reported based on the information I got. So, Duke, I will let you come in. Abba, I'll let you come in to Trump.
Yeah, Abba, go ahead, and then I'll follow you there because you've been.
Yeah, so, there's a question that keeps popping up. I've been kind of running back and forth. So that's why I haven't really said much. But there's a question that keeps popping up about the failure of the CPP and all of that stuff. And before I pivot into that, let me just talk on what Emery was just talking about. Look, guys, you are a journalist. You know what happened within the CPP. It's all on the records are there. It's public knowledge. So you're supposed to know this thing and educate your people. This is not something for you to make us say this, that, and the third, right? You're supposed to have that information is available to you. You're supposed to inform the people of your district, the people of Conklin, and let them know what really happened, because it's on record. We all know what happened. You understand? So we can only tell you from our perspective, from our candidate that we support perspective, who did his part. That you keep pressuring on the question of why did Alexander Cummings say he would support Boakai, but we couldn't answer why Boakai chose to do what he chose to do, right? You can ask that question to you people. What we say is the fact that Mr. Cummings stated that he will support whoever shows you the type of man he is, the caliber of leader he is. He's ready and willing to move the country forward. He's not here to hold the country down on some sort of personal or stuff because he want to give you something. If I lose, I lose, and I support whoever goes forward. But we have to compete fairly and squarely. That's all he's saying, or that's all he was saying. Those who didn't want to compete decided to gang up against him. And I go back to the analogy. We keep hearing people say the devil, you know, right? So here's the thing. You asked a question earlier. I was running from the store trying to get water for my son, so I couldn't. You asked a question about, look, here's the thing. Why did the CPP fail? You know why the CPP fail? The injured that you say you don't.
And you just joined us. We're live on radio station in NIMBA County. I have Emmerich, Albert, and myself, along with Dan and Timothy in studio. Radio Good Shepherd. We run this weekly podcast 2 times a week, and today it's a Saturday. Happens to be another one. And so people all across NIMBA are listening live to this. Good interaction. We're doing our best to be able to sell Mr. Cummings.
I'm giving an analogy. I'm not calling Mr. Cummings a lie, so nobody should take that and start running with it. I'm just trying to give an analogy here to make it simple, right? So when the devil and his legions of demons don't want to see light, and they hate light, they will fight against the light. And the devil and his legion of demons fought against this light, but they never could defeat the light. The light stood strong.
He stood strong. He stood his ground. He stood on his principles, and he stood to the end. And they couldn't defeat him because you know what? He's competent. He meant what he said. He stood for what he said. And that's, you guys should take note. You guys are journalists. You, in your analysis, when you're on your show, you should say these things. He stood against the fight, and he came out victorious. It shows you and tells you that he's a man that's not going to change when he gets into office. That's the song. You should look at that. It's not always about looking at things directly. You got to look at it. Look at what everything that happened, what the meaning of all of this thing. He stood his ground. He did not waver. You know, most of the people who come in the government library, you know what happens? They waver, they stick, they change, right? And they become corrupt. But because Kumi refused to accept the old way of doing things, he refused to accept the corrupt way of doing things. He wanted things to be done legally and with the law and by the law. They don't like the law. They want to do things their way. However, they always want to circumvent the law. And when I say circumvent, my people in confidence, I mean they want to go around the law. They want to follow the law. They want to go around the law. Everything will go the way how they want to not have the law. And that's why they fought against it. And that was the main reason why the CPP, I wouldn't say the CPP failed because the CPP is still powerful. The CPP is still standing strong. That's the reason why they left. Because they couldn't overpower him. Because he stood on principle. And he stood to his word that he's not going to change on the Liberian court. He's going to do exactly what he said he will do. And that's what that's the answer to your previous question you asked. How do we know he's going to be the same? How is he not going to change? He's not going to change because he has shown you guys that he's not going to change. So as journalists, you guys should be able to read between these lines and be able to relay this information to your people and tell your people these things. You have the facts. It's there. You understand? So I just want to throw that in there so that we all understand. We can't keep acting and regurgitating and asking these same questions over and over.
Yeah.
You are journalists. That's why you are over there. Tell your people these things. Thank you.
And you know, great point.
Okay, thank you, Albert. Albert, thank you very much. Let me just provide some clarity or make some correction. I did not bring about the issue of coming pledging support to Black Eye just in case. And Black Eye had not done that. I wasn't the one who brought that forth, and you just mentioned that. It was Emery who brought that. And then my question followed why. So just to make it clear.
So then I think
you talk about journalists, we need to be saying those things. We cannot say those things if we don't have the evidence at the tip of our fingers. Why we don't have the evidence? We have been denied the freedom of information, and that's strange in Liberia here. And so you would not expect us to come to sit on the radio and say something that we don't have at the tip of our finger.
Then the facts are there. Then the facts are there. Investigative journalism, right? Investigative journalism, right? And look, there is nothing that's a hidden secret. It is open. Everything that transpired with the initial arrangement of the CPP, it is visible, right? And we can use those occurrences to deduce, right? And come up with that logical explanation of exactly what's happening. It is not a lie. And you know what though? People who were part of the initial collapse of the CPP have been speaking out over the past couple of weeks about what transpired, what led to it. We have Ben and Yuri admitting that the collapse of the CPP were orchestrated by Joseph Boyka. Excuse me. Henry Costa said the same thing. You as journalists or journalists in Liberia should be informed then, knowing all of these things that have actually come up and say, you know what? It makes sense now. But I think the frustration is when we are trying to play in the middle and when we know that obviously there's an issue here, that something that happened and the person in question as Cummings was not responsible, but we don't want to make it, clear enough to the people because for some awkward reason, people remain mute in Liberia. But, I like to say this here and then, turn it back to you. I think we can go through all of the scenarios and all of the things that's happened in the past. And we can continue to argue the facts here. The truth here is there are enormous economic challenges that our people are facing in that country. You cannot remove that. The truth here is that our ma, our pa in the villages, our people in NIMBA country will tell you today that Liberia is a difficult country to live in. The truth here then is journalists like you who take your time to give information to the people are not receiving the kind of pay that you need to receive. The truth here is when our parents go to the farm and they take the low couple $100 that they've made from the pepper sales, the cocoa sales, and all of those things, the gas seller, to pay the children tuition. When those children graduate from the universities in our country, there's no jobs. So you send your child to school, high school through college. The child graduates, the child got to come back to you now and depend on you to support them as an adult. Those are the critical issues that we need to start talking about. Do we think that solutions or solving those issues will require people who have served in government for 50 years and have shown us over time that they have not presented the level of solutions to change that? Do you think we can find answers through tribalism? Do you think that we can solve those problems by saying that, oh, that my party here, oh, I will wear the t-shirt and go in the tent, it's me versus you? No. We can only solve those issues by making the right decision in electing leaders who will change the lives of our people. If somebody's been in government for 50 plus years and today you're still crying for leadership in that country, it is not sensible enough for you to go and support that same person. If you've given your vote to somebody because they're your tribal man, and you say, oh, my own person, that the devil I know, and all these years you can't even pay your children's school fees, there's no stable electricity or drinking water, NIMBA County still continues to struggle. Is that the way we want to elect? No. We have to make an informed decision that's based upon the facts, that's based upon all of the realities that we're seeing. The truths here say that Liberia is a troubling country. We are still one of the poorest countries in the world amongst all of our peers. And so for 50, 60 plus years, if we're still a poor country, then what is it? How is it sensible to vote for the same people that got us in the predicament that we're in today? That's why we must speak and do things different when it comes to election in our country. That's why people like me and the Emmerich are talking, and I was talking to our people in NIMBA County today, because we said, my people, you've been doing the same thing for all these years and nothing changed. Don't make that mistake again, because I tell you, if you vote for the same people 10 days after election, 1 month after election, 3 months after election, you will be back here again complaining about the same issues. Because you know what? We continue to give solutions or give those problems that we're facing to the same people who have created the problems. They will not change it. They will not solve it. We'll continue to have those issues. That's why Mr. Cummings bring a different direction or different way of doing things. And that way is based upon what the Liberian people will get in terms of decent leadership. We want to put the people in NIMBA County back to work. We want to send your children into a private sector that have jobs for them. We want you to retire after you work so long. Mr. Cummings will do that. And I believe if we can vote for him this time around and don't give power to the same people who have exploited you, we will see change, an immediate change in Liberia. That's our argument. And I think this is the most important conversation, Dan, that we should be, having.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you ever so much. Tonight sounds a bit different from the previous one because you guys were very bold to the point and in form of almost becoming the public relation officers, and we just have few more weeks to go. So time is not in our favor again. Let's hear from Emery and Duke before we close up, and we turn the microphone over to the next announcer.
Yeah, I will give Emery the chance to go last. Let me go before, if that's fine with Emery, because I want him close, and then Albert. Then I always end this show by appreciating the level of work that you guys are doing. I want to say thank you for giving us your time to be able to speak to our people in Balaget, our people in NIMBA County. It is an honor to stand for the people of Liberia. It is an honor for me to be able to speak on the issues impacting my country, regardless of how far I am. It shows that we love Liberia. And love is what got us here today. We could have been anywhere with our families, doing our own thing, our own little hustle. but we say, let's talk to our people so they can listen. Today, we have made a case here, a case that's based upon facts, to let our people know that we cannot go back to the people who have exploited us. Then you can't go back for solutions to people who have put you in this predicament. The people of NIMBA County must understand that NIMBA is the way it is today. Our mothers, our father, our children are suffering because of these same politicians that have been in power for 50 plus years. Nothing has changed. If we continue to waste our vote because the man, our tribal man, or because the person here, that popular candidate, we will continue to complain about why leadership is not working. If you want to change Liberia today, vote for Alexander Cummings. I can assure the people of NIMBA County, if Alexander Cummings as president does not change NIMBA County, please go ahead.
Are you now running a campaign?
I am saying, as a Liberian, that I want the Liberian people to vote for somebody that I believe is going to change their life and make the kind of impact that they will experience.
But they do not believe. I mean, you got to give me a full statement because
and let me say this, Dan, I will convince you to, you will believe it, and the people will believe it. So if you if you are a student in that country and you've been complaining about jobs in that country, then it is only right that you look in the direction of somebody that I believe will be able to change your lives. I know Liberia will be a better place. Our people will continue to benefit from our fight. But I want to say thank you, Dan. And then at the conclusion of this, my man, I know October 10th you will call me and say, Duke, what you said made sense, and I believe in your argument. So thank you.
Dan, before Emma let me just look, for the people of NIMBA and Liberia at large, look, 2023, October 10th is going to be a very important day in our country. And October 10th is going to determine where we go as a nation. It's going to determine whether we are going to progress or we are going to regress. And we cannot take it for granted. So if you have your voter's registration card, please, I am begging you, come out and vote. If you register to vote, don't just do it because you want it as an ID. I am begging you, I'm on my knees begging you to please come out and vote. It is very important. You see, the people, the countries that are next door, Ivory Coast and Ghana and stuff next door to us, they are all improving. People go there and see these places for the first time, they think they are in Europe. But they are not. And these people don't have two hairs on their shoulder. They have the same one hair like us. We are capable of surpassing them. But we have to vote. We have to come out and participate in the process. We can't sit at home. Please come out in full force and vote. And let us change this country. And I would ask that you vote number 4, Alexander Cummings, to change Liberia for the better. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, good points, Duke and Albert. And this is Emmerich again. It's very simple. I live with you. Yeah.
Every my time.
Okay, go ahead.
No fire, but I'm going to time because when you tell me story that I didn't tell me so long.
No. It will just be short there. I'm closing. I can be long, man. We are professional people. It's very simple. For people in Nigeria, in NIMBA as a whole, let me tell you this: we share a lot in common. We are the same people. Your son will not mislead you. Your son will not come and say because Emory gonna benefit. That's why I got to come and talk to the people about Benedict. And I will say over and over, I'm not a politician. I don't want to be into politics, but I want to see how I can be able to come in to show the other side that people had never shown you. Most of you that people come and lie. Most cases people come and lie. And tomorrow, the reason why I'll be happy in Company, because you will say Emmerich never lied to us. Emmerich was always here. Emmerich will always be here. He will never lie to us. And I will be always happy to be in company. Always. Because I will say the truth, that tomorrow the truth will set me free. So I say thank you all for listening. Like Abba just said, we support Cummings because he brings something different in leadership that we have never ever experienced. Leadership is not about popularity, because a leadership of popularity, today the CDC-led government will not be complaining. The 12 years of Ellen government will not have complained because Ellen too was popular. But you see, the 12 years, the 6 years, we are still complaining, all right, because we have not done something differently. And I will say, my people of Berege, my people of NIMBA, Yekepa, all over the place that you hear my voice, that your son, that your brother, that your nephew, that your grandchild, that Emery. Thank you for listening. When you have your questions next time, channel everything through Don and Timothy. We'll be able to address those questions, because I know a lot of you out there, you have questions to ask. We don't want it to be like one-way thing. We just kind of give you information and say this and say that. We cannot address your questions. So give your questions to Don. Don will be able to send them over the next time. Before we even start, we'll go over answering all of those questions before we get started, because we respect your views. Democracy is about respecting your views and respecting my views. So I say people that are involved into violence and so, stop it, be peaceful, because we want to come together and then eat together, celebrate together. If you will support different sides, we want to be together as family. That's how I am. So thank you, Dan. And thank you, Timothy. Thank you guys so much for the time given. And thank you for your patience. And thank you for the hard work. And I say, look, Good Shepherd is the best radio station I've experienced in the whole of NIMBA and whole of Liberia. So I give a hand clap to Good Shepherd.
Number one radio station.
Yeah, so thank you all. Okay, but man, don't forget my pops listening over there. Jacob Dino, I know you listening. I will call you. I told him that. Please, I told Daniel, give me your number. I'm going to call you. I respect my elders. And I will say I will call him for us to talk, to catch up on a lot of things. So thank you all, my uncle out there. Shout out to my uncle of that Moses duo. I love you all, and I'll be seeing you guys soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much so much. JB will be happy to receive call from you. Moses duo will also be happy to receive call from you and all of your people in Compton. I'm sure they'll be happy to receive call from you, because a lot of them, almost, if not all of them, most of them are listening to you. But it's unfortunate we got a situation like Liberia where you don't easily call, and we're facing problem with our network signal. It's on and off, and so people enjoy you talking about. Sometimes it's difficult to call, to ask. Sometimes it's text, and even so that is it. Thank you, guys, ever so much. We hope you continue to talk to us when the time is right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And so, people, this is it. Good Shepherd Radio, NIMBA County, another podcast. We will be out here again next Wednesday, I believe, for another episode of Unapologetic. I want to say thanks to all of you for following on my personal Facebook page. I see that some of you were here, so thank you as well. If you follow on the Unapologetic page, thank you as well. I stream from multiple pages, so sometimes you will see low volume on one page, the more volume on one page, but we see a lot of people. So today I was able to get 100 persons watching. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. And we will be back again next week. Tune into the live podcast and you will hear us again. Thank you all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day.